Just before we get into this week's episode, I need to apologise. We had a few audio issues in this episode, so yeah, sorry for that. We'll get them sorted for next time.
Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Kevin, and I'm joined by our beautiful co-host.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonnie.
There you go. And today we're here to talk about the cottagecore games, woo, and all that. More specifically, actually, we have a sampling platter of cottagecore games today because we went out and tried some demos. So we're gonna have. I think we played two each.
Two each.
So there's gonna be a good amount of discussion on different games. But before we get into all of that, transcripts are available in the show notes and on the website as per the always. And of course, we're going to get to the news and all of that stuff as usual. Also, we should note that Al is here in America, where I am. So, I'm looking forward to hearing his misadventures. I'm just assuming he's just smothered in burgers right now, as is the tradition.
I assume he's smothered in tipping anxiety.
Oh man, yeah, that'd be good. He's just not gonna go to any restaurants.
Honestly,
He's gonna stick
it
to
would
the
so
Mickey
put me off
D's.
if I ever travel to America is like, because A, tipping is stupid, and B, the anxiety of it. I'm just like, nah, I don't need to deal with that.
See, look, the easiest way to do it,
It's
a
not
pro
visit
tip for
America.
all the well, yeah, okay, sure. If you are somehow find yourself visiting America, the pro tip is if just do the credit card if you can, because then you just write it in and nobody has to see, nobody has to know, and it's all there. And you'll never see them again, so it's fine. Okay, let's see. First stuff though, we actually have some feedback.
Yeah, some feedback from, or I guess a correction from, or correction's probably the wrong
A
thing. Something
correction.
that Al and I missed last week when we covered Turnip Boy Robs a Bank is that there are actually accessibility options.
Okay.
Neither of us picked up that those were in there, and it changes quite significantly, I think, some of my criticism of the game.
Okay.
So I can't remember all of the accessibility options off the top of my head, but I talked a lot about how I really hated the way aiming works in the game, and one of the accessibility options is automatic aiming, which I think is
Yeah.
a really good accessibility option for this game.
Ooh,
If you're
that is
into
a
the
good one.
Yeah, if you're into the Turnip Boy sort of lore, I guess, and want to experience it, like it feels like a good option for that. So just
Yeah.
want to highlight that that's something that we missed, and it's a cool thing that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like you mentioned, the I'm disclaimer. I didn't play Turnip Boy myself, but my brother played it, and I witnessed most of it. The combat is the weaker portion, right? And the highlights the humor and the chaoticness going on. So, kind of sidestepping that. That was a good call. Yeah. So good stuff, Turnip Boy. Good on you for having those options.
Yeah. And the other thing that we've got to talk about, so Al and I talked about this last week, Kev, but it would be sacrilegious to not get your take on what you think about Wildflowers being on the Apple Vision Pro.
Well, first, my reaction, and I think I put it in the Slack, is 3.5 grand. Oh my goodness, I had no idea. Like, oh my gosh, I know Apple products are pricey slash overpriced, but holy moly. Now I have to see what the farming looks like. It's an interesting way of doing it, but I think all in all that sounds good. It's it's so weird though because like Wildflowers is very narrative slash character driven, right? Um, which isn't generally speaking the focus in a first person slash VR type game. But like you
So
guys said,
have you seen how the implementation works?
here, let me look. I'm gonna look it up right now. But I mean, overall, though, I think it's good to do it. I do think VR slash augmented reality is a good idea overall. I think we'll get there eventually, and so each baby step like this in different formats or different ways is a good thing in my opinion. Let me see if I can find a video of this thing.
Yeah, because I guess how it works is it's less first person and it's more like having it up on a screen, kind of like one of the mini screens that
Yeah,
you can place around with
right.
the Apple
Okay,
Vision Pro.
that's
And
what
you
the
can,
farming looks like.
yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah, that's what I was. Okay, that is. That looks pretty cool. Um, I like the. Yeah, no, the farming bit look. Yeah, obviously, like putting it in a on a screen like that is the way to go. And the farming having the plots because the farming is very simple and it's very square slash grid like, right? So, I think this is a good one for that. Um, because it'd be so easy to control. There's not a lot of difficulties in managing the farming aspect. So that's cool. And on top of that, eventually you can automate some of that stuff, so you can just skip it out, right? Um, but yeah, no, that looks great. I'm so happy. It, Wildflowers is getting a second, third win, whatever win we're at. With the small DLC update and now this Vision Pro stuff. I'm curious how much longer they're going to keep up the development. But I'm here. I'm here for the long haul. I haven't fired it up in a while, admittedly, but I'll wait till they announce maybe they're done with everything and then see what's going on.
Awesome.
All right. Okay. So that's some of the house cleaning we had to tend to from last episode. But now let's talk about what we've been up to more recently. Johnny, I'll let you go first. What have you been up to? What you been playing? What you been doing?
What have I been up to? So, because there've been like a lot of demos and trying out a lot of stuff, I feel like I've sort of reverted back to some comfy kind of nostalgia games in the past week. So, I've been playing Diablo 4, partly because it's something that I can play with friends, and I moved countries recently, so it's a nice game to do that. But
Yeah.
maybe more funnily, the reason we started playing Diablo 4 is because Diablo 4 has been in the news a lot in the last week because they've been doing very expensive cosmetic items that has generated a lot of media attention, and I keep seeing headlines like Diablo 4 enters microtransaction hell, and it's silly things, right? Like your town portal can change color, and I think it's like $50 or whatever
Okay.
for that cosmetic, and it's not entirely fair frame because I believe it comes with some of their premium or quite a bit of their premium currency as well. So you can purchase other things. But the thing that's really kind of striking to me is the narrative around this is kind of describing it like it's a bad thing. Look, if there are people out there that want to pay $50 for a cosmetic item that has like it's not even on your character as you're running around playing the game. It's literally the thing that you use to get to and from locations. It's not that significant in the game, and if people want to spend that
Yeah.
amount for that cosmetic, and that enables the developer, and I'm putting aside who the developer is and all of those sorts of things because I don't really want to get
Right.
into that discussion. But if this extends the life of the game, and they're doing seasonal
What's there to
gameplay.
discuss about Activision Blizzard?
Yeah. Let's just avoid that one altogether. But if people want to pay a lot for those sort of things, and it means I, as a casual player jumping in, feel no need to spend money on any of that, and it means they can keep investing in developing new content for these games, then great. Like I feel as a just for the campaign portion of the game, it is fully justified as a full price game. I had a lot of fun playing the campaign. And if this is how they
Sure.
want to monetize the long life of the game, go for it. Like the game is still very fun. I have a good time playing with friends. I just find a lot of the narrative around ongoing monetization, if we accept that that is part of the reality of games now, this is probably the least predatory way to do it.
Oh, absolutely. My my two questions are one. So all the news I heard about what little I did was about the cosmetic stuff, but is there any stuff that boosts gameplay or affects
No,
mechanics or anything like that?
no.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
it's all purchasable cosmetics. None of it really affects gameplay.
Okay. Well, then that's yeah. All right. Who cares then?
Exactly.
Well, also, can you earn premium currency by playing, or do you just have to pay up for it?
I feel like you can, but I also feel like you earn even, and I might be wrong. But I feel like even if you do earn premium currency, it's at a rate that's so slow that you might as well not earn it at all because you would have to. Like, I don't know how you would actually save up enough of it to purchase anything.
Sure.
But I can't remember if that premium currency is actually locked behind like a paid season pass thing.
Okay.
So I can't remember if it's locked behind a slightly different version of a paywall or if those are some of the free tiers on the seasonal track.
Right. Okay. Well, they like you said, who cares, right? It's cosmetic, so whatever.
Exactly.
Let them hunt the whales.
And maybe I'm just like slightly biased, because you and I both play Marvel Snap, and that's their approach as
Yeah.
well, right? You generally you don't pay to unlock card. Well, you can like spending money on the game does increase the rate that you unlock cards somewhat, but not
Right.
not
But it's not
massively.
explicitly. You don't pay money for a card exactly. It's generally speaking just a cosmetic that happens to get you resources that can help you generate new cards. But yeah, no, yeah, I understand. I guess like I think about Marvel Snap is actually a very apt comparison because there's explicitly the price tag $100 bundles. I think there's one going on
Hmm.
right now.
Yep.
And yeah, yeah, it doesn't bother me. Like sometimes it's a really cool one that I kind of wish I had, but it's not the end of the world. There's plenty. The game is still fun; it doesn't affect it, and there's plenty of other cool cosmetics I can earn.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I get you. Um, good. Yeah, all right. Good way of doing it, I guess. Diablo 4.
Yeah, and like so to kind of come back to the actual game, I'm having a lot of fun with Diablo as just a thing to jump on with friends and kill a bunch of stuff and
Yeah.
have a good time. And I think the thing that I really appreciate about Diablo 4 is level scaling. So they have level scaling, so it doesn't matter what level you are, you can play with your friends, and it's a really
Oh,
nice
that's good.
version. Yeah, so you can play with your friends. Like when we were playing, one of our friends was level 90. I think I was the lowest level. I was like level 17 or something, and we could play in the game together. And at level 90, he was significantly more powerful than I was,
Of
even though
course,
the mobs were
as
sort of
you'd
scaled
expect.
for us, as you would expect. But I think that's kind of fine, right? Like we were able to sort of play together and not have it be where I wasn't doing anything, but he was also able to enjoy, the fact that he had put a lot more time and effort into building a more powerful character. So I thought it's a really nicely implemented version of level scaling.
That's pretty impressive because that's a very difficult balancing act to do. Um,
Yeah.
Not a lot of games do that well, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the other thing I've been dipping my toe back into is old school RuneScape. Like I don't know, I played old school RuneScape when it was just RuneScape, and
Yeah.
I love dipping my toe back into it every once in a while. Like it's such a
Oh
goofy
man,
game. I love it.
it's such a very distinct flavor. I was actually thinking about dipping back in just last week. I don't remember why, but I might do that then.
Do it, Kev. Send me your username and I will add you, and we can see each other online. And oh my god, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were an old school RuneScape person, but please, please.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was just definitive middle school gaming.
Exactly. Yep,
Oh yeah.
that was the age, right?
Yep. Oh man, what you do in the computer lab when you had the timer, nobody caught you or whatever. Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Um. Oh yeah. Good stuff.
Oh, well, maybe at some point we
Um.
should do a greenhouse episode on on
I was thinking that. I was about to say that. Stay tuned for
yes.
our RuneScape Greenhouse.
Great. Cool. All right, we'll leave that one there then. Kev, what have you been playing?
um, all right. So, okay. It's been a minute since I've been on, so I've got a few things. Actually, all this stuff kind of was in the last week. I've been playing a lot of games, I guess. First off, shout out to Rainbow Road Radio, the Mario podcast I host with mutual friend Alex. We covered Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which came out just yesterday, well, from the time of recording. I did not purchase the game myself, Alex did, but I played the demo. Have you played any of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games at all, Johnny?
I don't even think I've ever heard of a Mario vs. Donkey Kong game.
Okay. So, it is right, the original Donkey Kong arcade game, right? The debut of both Mario and Donkey Kong. They reimagined. I wouldn't even say that. More like a callback to that original series. This game was originally on the Game Boy Advance. They did a remake for the Switch. That's what we discussed. And it is a puzzle kind of platformer game. Um, Essentially, there's a key, and you're presented with a level with platforms and obstacles like spike pits, y- jumps you have to make, switches, things like that. It's not a scrolling vertical or horizontal scrolling type level like standard Mario's. It's just one screen, and you kind of have to just figure out the puzzle of how do I get to the key, what order do I have to clear these obstacles or flip these switches, and then you get the key to the door. Um, and that's kind of the gist of the gameplay. It's fairly straightforward, but they add a lot of depth. They add a lot of obstacles and stuff like that. The Switch remake specifically, it's very nice presentation. Um, the the game is the premise is centered around these little toys called mini Marios. So a lot of the games, enemies and things like that are toy versions of Mario enemies. Very cute, very reminiscent of Link's Awakening remake art style. Very colorful and fun. I enjoyed the demo. Alex enjoyed the game that he'd played thus far. Yeah, check that out. That's a fun one.
Nice. I might
Aside
have to
from
check it
that,
out. I love a puzzle platformer.
yeah, yeah, it's great, and they added new stuff for the remake, right? So it's got a substantial amount. It's not just a short GBA uh venture. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. At least people should check out the trailers and stuff just to see how the cute little mini Marios are. Um,
Or people should check
Aside from
out
that,
Retro Road Radio. Rainbow Road Radio.
and
Oh my
that
god.
the Rainbow Road Radio, that's correct. Oh, don't worry, I'll be plugging that later. um, Aside from that, Disney Speedstorm. Have you heard of this one, Johnny?
I have not heard of this one either.
Okay. It is a it just came out last year, I believe. It is Disney's version of Mario Kart. It's a part racing game with Disney. Here's okay, so it's it, I'm two ways about it because on the one hand, the actual racing is fantastic. It's a strong Mario Kart type game. The If you're a big fan of Disney, you'll get even more enjoyment out of it. With the music, tracks, the characters, pretty wide variety of characters. They have Pixar and Disney. But here's the kicker. It's free to play, which, oh, hey, that's cool. You don't have to spend money, but it is slathered with loot boxes, season pass, microtransactions, just filled to the brim with it. And it's it's not prohibitive, but you do have to know how to invest your resources because you get plenty of resources. You basically the kicker is you have to level up your characters, your racers. That affects their stats, and that actually does affect your performance in races. Including the single player. In fact, I would say primarily the single player, which is what I've been playing. Um, and so getting the resources is the challenge. You have to win certain races, do certain objectives, get from boxes, yada yada. So it is a limited amount you get, at least like daily. But if you just invest them smartly, you can get through the races okay. But so, that's kind of a bummer how grindy it can feel at times, but the grind is fun because the game itself is really fun. As you can expect from Disney money, the presentation is pretty stellar. Like I said, all the visuals, the audio is good. They got not every voice actor, but a good majority of them. They didn't get, John Goodman for Sully, but they got Ariel's voice actress, which is pretty cool. And I'm a big Disney fan, so I'm thoroughly enjoying the game. And it's like on every console or platform, whatever, and you can move your account and all that good stuff. So I enjoy. I kind of recommend it if you're a big Disney fan in particular.
This sounds like the sort of game that in a different stage of my life I would have got very into, and it's more that I just don't have space for another like daily check-in game in my life at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's understandable.
And how would you say the racing compares to like a Mario Kart?
I think overall the pacing is faster in general. There's a big emphasis on boosting and has a boosting mechanic. The number of power-ups they're general. I don't know if they're smaller, the actual amount, but they're less impactful, let's say, right? There's no blue shell or lightning. There's nothing super chaotic. Like there's a shield you can get there. You can fire like a homing disc. They do put some fun twists on it because the power-ups you can actually have variations. Some you can charge up, you can hold the button down and charge up the power up to do something different. Some you can throw backwards, others you can't. And most interestingly, every character has a unique power up that matches their character, right? So for instance, Ariel has a really fun one. When you use her special skill, she these little the trinkets and artifacts just spawn on the racetrack, and if you collect them, you get a higher top speed, which is cute. There's other ones like Stitch. He'll just start blasting all crazy, like with his ray gun. Sully will roar at people, and it's just cute to see the ones that they do, and how they match each character. But yeah, overall, it feels less chaotic than a Mario Kart because Mario Kart is just utter chaos with everything flying around. It is a bit more straightforward racing, but still enjoyable.
Nice.
Yeah, that's Disney Speedstorm. And one more I've got to talk about, Moonstone Island. Funnily enough, you guys talked about the update last week. I was playing before the update dropped. I didn't even know it was coming, and then I just happened to see there was an update on Steam. I have actually not hit credits. I don't know if you can hit credits in the game, but I completed a full year and defeated the final boss. That game, Al and I did a whole episode on that, and I think my feelings are more or less unchanged. They added the marriage, and that was fine, but it's not enough to change the entirety of the game. There's still a lot I like about the game, but there's also a lot that it feels lacking. But hopefully they'll keep updating it and we'll see it get to a better place. The one thing I will definitely give them props for is the monster design. The hands down winner of the new ones they added is called Bread Mouse, like the band Dead Mouse. It is a toaster with a piece of toast in it with a little face on it, and the toast will pop out. It's very cute. But yeah, that's I still kind of recommend. I went back to it, right? Like there's enough for me to actually go through the whole year.
And that's a big thing, I guess, in this year, or in modern time. Going back to a game is a really good sign because there's so many games that we get to play, and you can try something and be like, oh, that was fun, but you never really feel the need to go back to it, and you'll be scrolling through your library and you'll be like, oh, I never went back to that, and you kind of realize, like, while it was fun, there wasn't that hook to pull you back. So anything that can do that, I think, is a sign of a pretty good game.
Yep. And there's something almost like I keep going back because I want it to be good, right? Like I had fun going through the bosses and everything. The last fight is actually very challenging. Um, but I still wish there was like a story giving me a reason that I'm fighting this thing. Um, I'm just gonna spoil it for anyone who cares. The boss's name is Missing No. Actually, just straight up Missing No, like Pokemon's missing number. But yeah, so and hey, I did it. I can pat myself on the back and close it for now unless some big update comes.
Congrats.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to. A lot of stuff. And speaking of a lot of stuff, we got news. Actually, I don't think it's that much news, but we got some items here. So let's get into it. First up, we got Ikone Island. Yeah, console releases are still coming, but we don't have any date yet, and they're doing improvements to the UI. Which is always good. I feel like UI design it's so critical, but it feels so underappreciated, both even just from the dev side. But so I do appreciate them putting some effort on that. Let me see.
Yeah, so I guess the key to this one is that they kind of recognised that their launch on Steam was a little bit rocky. They got kind of hit with a few bugs that were probably unexpected, and so they're just calling out that they're still, fully intending to do their console launches, but also recognising that it's probably going to take a bit more work than they initially intended. So no official date as of yet, but I really appreciate this sort of communication, and probably unsurprising that when you have a launch on Steam and you get hit with some bugs that you didn't expect, it's not only that it can be disappointing, sort of, that happens and disappointing commercially, but it could also be it's just hard, right? When you've put a lot of time, effort, and love into a game like this, and it's very hard to predict. We all know that building games is difficult. I think it's a good sign that they're taking the time and not putting the additional pressure on to get those console versions out.
Absolutely, yeah. And even just in this cottage core subspace, there's plenty of games, so there's definitely no need to rush. I agree. It's good for them to be clear, for one, to focus, to plan things out like this, right? Like they're going to delay it, and to be clear about it. So I think that's a sign of a good developer. So, I hope for that console release eventually.
Yeah.
Kinseed has what they call the big build update. Is that out to let me see.
Yeah, so the big build update is out now. And I guess the key to this one is it introduces farm customization.
Yeah. So I have not seen that much about but boy, that art is beautiful. It is. Wow, that's some lovely, lovely pixel art. Yeah, farm customization is the big one. They have a big list of stuff on Steam you can see. They even adjusted some of the story pacing. Let me see. Oh, that's cool. NPC, a talent system for NPCs. That's really cool. Improvements to their progress screen. You can not just customize it, not visual customization for the farm, but actual structures that can improve, like your shelters for your animals and things to make travel and commerce easier. This is a pretty hearty update. Batch crafting. There's that's the one everyone loves. Yeah, wow, that's a big update. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have to check this out. This is some really pretty art. I'd totally forgotten about this one, I won't lie. And like I said, that is out now already on Steam. Is it anywhere else? I don't remember. But at the least on Steam. Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have this is a fun one. A game called Outbound. Let's read the blurb, shall we? Build your own home on wheels and live sustainably off-grid. Craft workstations and power supplies. Source energy from the sun, wind, or water. Upgrade and customize your vehicle. Grow crops, automate your production, and explore a colorful world. That's a lot of stuff to do from a vehicle.
Look, this game looks incredible. So I guess the shorter summary than what Kev just read out is you're driving around in a minivan that you live in, and you can customize. I'll put a note down here that I was on board before this, but the moment that got Al was they built an insane structure on top of the camper van, which I think is amazing from what they've shown. You know, being able to drive around the world, deck out the inside of the caravan, build some cool stuff on top of it. Like, I am all in on this sort of game. This looks incredible.
Yep, it's a very pleasant visual style too. It's full 3D, cell shaded. I think is probably the best way or closest approximation, I would say. Um, uh, this is very interesting, right? Because so many farm games they're centered around the farm or the base, right? But this one's mobile, so like how Mm, well, that will make, I assume, traversing between different little mini bases because they show you can build structures on the ground and stuff. So I assume you can build little buildings and things like that. I wonder how big the map will be if you have a car. Like, there's a lot of potential there. Um, it looks like wind turbines on the top of this thing. Oh, that's great. I hope you can go really high. I want it to look absurdly ridiculous.
Me too. Me too. So I guess in terms of like, because this game's been announced, they have a Kickstarter page, like, but no campaign launch or launch date. So probably just one to keep our eyes on for the moment.
Yep, there you go. All right. So that is again Outbound. That's a fun looking one. Um, and actually, that's it. I think
Oh,
we've
we got one more.
covered
One more.
most of the news. Well, one more, yes,
We've got
but I'll let you take this one.
Farming Simulator
Wait,
20.
what?
Yeah, you
Oh,
scrolled
I
past
missed
it.
it. You're right. I skipped it. Yeah, I did. Wait, they do content updates for these games?
Yes. They do lots of content updates for Farming Simulator. They've got all the farming
I
freaks.
thought each year was the content update.
No, there are updates within the content updates. So this one introduces a new Kubota, which I think is a Japanese farming vehicle manufacturer. Look, Farming Simulator freaks will probably love this, but I think we've definitively proved that on the show we're not Farming Simulator freaks. So if you're into that,
No.
go do it.
I do enjoy seeing the reactions from the people who are fans, right? Like the I remember years back when they finally brought John Deere into Farming Simulator, just the the hype was through the roof from the Farming Simulator community. Um that's pretty fun. All right, yeah, Kubota, I'll put an exclamation point. I wonder if he knows who that is. I don't know that company. All right, let's just get into the demos. Johnny, I'll let you take the first one. All right, share to the class what demos you've been playing with.
Yeah, so I guess the first one that I'll kick off with is Lightyear Frontier. And as I wrote that down, I'm like actually questioning, is that the name of the game? Because we're in like the, classic word salad of games where you start looking at things and then you wonder, like, is that right? Or is it something else? It is.
This is not One Lonely Outpost or whatever that one's called.
Yeah.
That's the other space future
Right.
one.
So Lightyear Frontier is the mech space farming game. And actually, having played the demo, I feel like farming or cottagecore game is maybe not quite the right description. To me, it feels maybe more similar to like a survival game. So the premise is you are dropped on a planet with your mech, and you are the only thing on there. I think part of it is the intent is maybe more for like do it with friends, right? So there might be 3 or 4 of you.
Sure.
And you explore the planet and sort of build and establish a base more so than a farm. Like farming is definitely an element of it. But I guess that's kind of the core base of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels more as you said, survival-esque, right? Like No Man's Sky or perhaps Palworld even. Uh, that's those are the vibes I get from it. Watching the trailer here. But okay, tell me, how is the mech though, right? Because that's the differentiator. That's the star of the show. How does it feel?
The mech is unfortunately disappointing.
Oh
And
no!
there's one very clear reason for it, and I get where they're going. I just don't think it works in execution. So, what happens with the mech is, it can jump higher. You can get in and out of the mech, so you're not always in the mech, and there are elements where you need to be outside of it. But what happens, I think, in order to sort of limit traversal around the world, is the mech is not great on unstable ground. So
Oh no!
if you are on unstable ground, it is highly likely to fall over, and then you need to get out and you need to right the mech. And I get why they want to sort of limit some of the traversal, and I assume it might be, maybe you can get a higher jump or a longer boost later in the game, but it just doesn't feel great, right? To me, part of what I want to feel when I'm in a mech is like I am like a human plus, and in many ways, it feels like you're a human minus when you're in the
Right,
mech.
absolutely. Like I'm looking at the trailer, and one thing I'm seeing is that the actions you do from the mech feel very similar to what you could do in any other sort of survival game, right? Collecting resources, planting, etc., etc. Um, and I mean, obviously, the visuals match the mech. You're using tools and gadgets and whatnot to do it. But like you say, when I'm in a mech, I'd want to be more than human. Plus, I want to be outrageously, absurdly powerful and doing nonsense, right? Like I just want to blow. If I'm going to clear a lane, I want to do it just in till a field. I want to do it in just one button push, something like that, something absurd and over the top. And I'm not really seeing that, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and I didn't really feel that in the gameplay. Um, so that was unfortunate.
Yeah. What about the rest of it, right?
So I think the rest of it. So I think it's well known that I'm not a particularly big fan of survival games, but I even
Sure.
feel that in the realm of survival games, this one suffers from not really having a clear identity of what it is. So if I think about
Mm,
something like, if I go to the classic Minecraft, right? Minecraft is all built around the creativity aspect of what can you build and what can you do in this world. Like,
right.
there's no narrative element. It's just come up
Right.
with whatever narrative you want. But this is the game, which is great for what they're doing. Something like Palia is like, hey, go out into the world and beat these bosses, right? So there is more of a here's an objective of a thing to do. Now you can talk about how good it is at doing that, but it's very clearly there. The
Right.
in Lightyear Frontier, there is a narrative aspect that is so you've got an AI counterpart that's like watching over you and giving you guidance, I guess is probably the way to describe it.
Sure.
And you're landed on a planet. There's some allusions to, like, why didn't humanity come here and, explore this planet? And, you're going to clean up some of it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't feel particularly, like, the narrative doesn't feel particularly compelling or strong. Um,
Right.
like, there was a few quests that kind of were meant to introduce it to you, but they kind of just feel like they appeared, and I didn't really feel like I had a compelling reason to go and do those. Like, I didn't care about completing the quests, right? Like, it was more just
Yeah.
like, here's a task to complete. And then on the other
Yeah.
side, I didn't get that, like, the building side of it didn't feel strong enough that I was like, oh, but like, I could see how I want to build out this planet. It more felt like kind of just standard base building stuff. So to me, it
Yeah.
felt stuck between um, all of the different aspects of what a survival game could be, and just wasn't really any of them.
Yeah. I again looking at the trailer, I can get that. Like I think a concern just from looking at it, the house you can build is like a little wood cottage type ranch home. And in a mech game, I'd hope for a big hulking metal robot base. So I can see that it feels like they're trying to go in two different directions. They're going through all the usual trappings of these survival type games, but they're trying to do this mech stuff, but not enough. So that's a tad unfortunate. Like honestly, it just looks like a more colorful No Man's Sky. Again, just from the trailer.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a huge amount else to say on this game.
Hmm.
And I guess my takeaway is, sometimes you play a game and you're like, I didn't enjoy that, but I know the sorts of people that would enjoy it, right? I know who I would recommend the game to. Unfortunately, with my
Right.
time with Lightyear Frontier, I kind of left it thinking, I don't know who this game is for. It feels too
Ah.
much like we built a thing where it's a little bit like Mad Libs style game development, where they
Mm,
survival games are popular, cottagecore games are popular. Oh, let's do mechs in space because that's an unexplored
yeah.
sort of area, which could be really good. I'm just not sure that there's a clear enough vision that I saw in the demo. And I guess that's probably something we should sort of say, maybe not right up front, because now that we're a little bit into the conversation, but there's a huge possibility that these things could change, right?
Right.
And I think for me, the thing that would need to change with Lightyear Frontier in order for me to go back in is I would want to hear about this game having a clear direction in terms of what it is, whether that's adding a lot more narratively or,
Hmm.
really going into what it means to clean up the planet and to build a base or do whatever the thing is that you're aiming to do on this planet. I would just like to see more of a direction in order for me to jump back in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate, and they have the big hook. They have the mech, right? Like if they had gone in all in on that, right? Like customize it to be just ridiculously different builds or whatever, right? Like I think of, Armored Core 6. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That was the big mech game from Software. Like that's the sort of thing I want to see from mechas.
And I think that's a really good sort of point to raise is the and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. The tools just kind of feel like the tools that you would have anywhere else. Like it doesn't feel like they're really taking
Right.
advantage of the mech and some of the cool things that it could do. You've got this big open world game. Give us
Yeah.
a super fast boost. Like I've not played Armored Core 6, but I've seen the gameplay of Armored Core 6. And
Right?
you
Like,
kind of take all of the aspects of that game that look fun and you delete them,
yep.
and that's what playing a mech in this game feels like.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's disappointing. But it is still technically early access, so who knows? Maybe one day we'll see improvements. Maybe they'll hear this episode down the grapevine, and then they'll go all in. But all right, there you go. That's Lightyear Frontier.
Yeah, so that's my first demo. Kev, what's your first one?
All right, I want to talk about Southfield. So we covered this relatively recently on the podcast. Last time I was on with Al. Their hook, their premise. It is a physics-based farming figured cottage core type game. It is so if you watch the trailer, see the images. You can see just from the visual style what they're going for. You're playing as this very round, colorful, I call it gumdrop creature, with goofy cartoony eyes and just like no fingers or whatever, just round ball hands. And this demo is fascinating because unlike other demos, it's not a they're up clear about it. They're clear and upfront about it. It's not a like example of a level or whatever. This is kind of a proof of concept. They want to show what they want to go for. That's how they describe it. Now, that said, it is a fairly robust and complete demo. It is very large, and the kicker is you can't save.
Oh no.
But yeah, yeah, it's rough. So, like, if you think you'd enjoy this, you got to clear a couple hours because it is a very amply sized demo, both in terms of like the area you can cover and the amount of things you can do. So going to the main hook of the physics space portion. So, for instance, right in your standard farming game, when you want to harvest a crop, you just push the button and you collect the resource, right? Maybe you cut it down with a sickle or whatever, right? In this game, you have to grab the fruit, whatever it is, and you actually have to pull that sucker out. Like it will stretch cartoon style, and you have to yank it off in a very sort of satisfying way of doing it. It's not all completely physics based. For instance, when you're plowing the ground, it's still a grid based sort of system as is the usual. But for instance, when you're watering, it's not just water square by square. It's like you actually just can run around and just rush all the and spray water everywhere as you're doing it.
This game just looks incredible. I love. Sorry, I love the look of this game.
Yep, it's very bright, bouncy, colorful, cartoony. Um, and everything about it, like even as you're playing, the mechanics all feel like how it looks. For instance, there is a dedicated combo button where you just kind of roll up into a ball, and then you can just start rolling around like a Goron from the Legend of Zelda series. You can just roll around the ground to instead of dashing or whatever. It's very fun. It's very cute. There's a huge like 30 or something crops that you can grow in the demo. And they do get into some of the other aspects like building and crafting and whatnot. In particular, the automation stuff where you can construct conveyor belts and things like that. You can see in some of the trailer like you can have these wacky bouncing fruits on the conveyor belts as they're moving along. So it can the possibilities are they're vast. Like I can't even imagine the nonsense that will come out of this game. And overall, like I said, it's a real it sucks that you can't say because I want to play this more and more, but having to restart every time is a real bummer. But yeah, the whole demo as a whole is a very sandbox. Like here's the island, go here's basically all the things you can do and just go do whatever, right? I don't know what the if they're going to try to go with a narrative thing because they have some other NPCs and characters which are fun in design and have personality, so maybe they'll lean into that. I don't know, but it is still overall I think a great demo. I'm excited for the game. I'm glad the demo didn't disappoint because just looking at the game I was very excited by the visual style, and I'm definitely keeping my eye out for this. And whenever, how long it'll take to get the game actually done. So definitely a thumbs up.
I love like the look of some of the automation in the game where they set up the conveyor belts and like fans and was that in the demo?
Yes, it was. I can't remember fans, but I think it was. I didn't fiddle around with the automation too much, but they definitely had a lot of different components that you could mess around with to basically achieve the sort of stuff you see in the trailer with fans pushing them and bouncing and things like that. Um, yeah, I'm definitely a thumbs up for me on Southfield.
Yeah, this game looks incredible. My feeling looking at this game is it kind of gives me the silliness that I feel like an Ooblets was going for, and Ooblets
Yes.
massively failed to deliver on because it just tried to be absurd. This feels like absurd
Yes.
with a purpose, right? That's to me that's the appeal is like the ragdoll physics style element, and what you've said about like it's not everywhere, right? Like the hoeing being more grid based is that to me
Yeah,
says a
it's
lot
still
because
grounded. Yes.
yeah, it's
Right.
grounded. There's still intention behind it, and doing those things where it makes sense. Right? I feel like Ooblets was just like, we're gonna make everything silly because that's the thing we do. We're silly. Look at how silly we are, and it's like, you kind of just cringe and lame, right? Like, whereas this looks just amazingly designed.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that because yeah, nothing felt bad, like for better lack of way of putting. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at the trailer again. I forgot. There's this fruit that will just start growing if you don't harvest it quickly enough. It's pretty fun. Yeah, they have the cannons. Yeah, all this stuff is in the demo. Looking at it, there's an electric dog. I don't remember that, but oh yeah, I think the vehicle was in there too. But I agree. Like it's very thoughtful in its design. It's goofy as much as it can be, but still, yeah, absolutely grounds it with working systems. And honestly, I had the same feeling of like this is kind of what I want Ooblets to be like because it's bright and colorful, but not ridiculously like I don't know what it is about Ooblets. Something about the names that always throw me off about Ooblets, but here it's just so much fun. I mean, just looking at the character you play at, it's great. Yeah. So I don't think we have any date or anything like that for Southfield yet, but keep your eye out for it because I think it's going to be a great one when it comes out.
All right, so Rusty's Retirement is a game I'm very excited about. I've been very excited about, and I was very excited to try the demo. I feel like the idea of an idle-ish farming game that kind of just sits at the bottom of your screen is genius and something that I had not considered and something I didn't know that I wanted until I saw the trailer. And I was like, yeah, I really want to play this. I hope it's really good. And having played the demo, it seems like it's exactly what I wanted it to be. So you have your farming plots that sit at the bottom of the screen. You select a crop, you plant it. Rusty, he goes out and he'll plant the crops, or he'll water them, he'll harvest them. You can purchase robots that will help with the automation, effectively just increasing the number of tasks that you can complete. And the first crops you grow, then maybe they take a minute or two, and then as time goes on, the crops take longer and longer to grow, and you kind of just need to grow more of them to unlock future stuff.
You're right.
The demo has some pretty obvious blockers on it, like there's I assume you'll be able to purchase more land. There were some big bits on the screen that were just like kind of grayed out, and with the words demo across them. I'm sure there'll be more buildings and stuff. Like you could buy a few buildings in this one, but nothing significant. It was just kind of everything I was hoping it was going to be.
Okay, so the visual is very cute. I actually like the style a lot. My question is, how intrusive do you find it? Right? Like, because it's running at the bottom of your screen. Like, how frequently are you checking in, or how much is it distracting you?
Yeah, so this is. I don't know if it's fair to say, Chris. This is probably the thing that I hope changes the most as the game goes from demo to full implementation. And I should call out that they're very explicit that the demo is a work in progress and that a lot of things will change. So in terms of how intrusive it is, I'm playing on a laptop with like a 15-inch screen and a monitor.
Right.
It's attached to a monitor that's like maybe 27 inches. And it does feel quite intrusive. They do have options where you can keep it up permanently or have it minimize, which is handy. It did feel quite intrusive, but one of the good things that I guess has come out of the demo is they've announced that vertical mode is coming, and I think the vertical mode would change it quite significantly. I think there's quite a difference to it being on the right of a screen versus it being sort of on the bottom in terms of the amount of screen real estate it will take up. So I really like that change. I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's something that I'm very excited for, because I think I would be much more likely to have it up permanently if I was playing in vertical mode versus horizontal.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. I guess also like just how much like in terms of attention does it detract from you, right? Like is this something you would run while doing something, I don't know, a work type task, or is this something just while you're watching videos, or like how much of your attention does it grab?
Yeah, so I think this is the other thing that I kind of hope changes in the full implementation, is that it slows down a bit. So I felt like it was requiring too much attention for what it was. But again, that's sort of a pass I'm willing to give it because it's a demo. And I think it felt like, to me, it felt like that was intended because you kind of progress to, purchasing some of the buildings and getting a lot of the resources, what felt like very quick for a game of this sort. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the full implementation, everything else was slowed down. So I feel like I did everything within the demo, which goes from starting with not a lot to generating, thousands of gold within the course of an hour or two, which is not the pace you necessarily want to play a game like this at. So I feel like the pace was too quick, but also for a demo, it was like, yeah, if this was the game, but it was just slower, that would be fine. So it felt more like this. If this is the pace, it's definitely more the sort of thing that you would play while like watching a show, but definitely not something that you would play while you were trying to achieve something else productive, because it takes too much attention to do that.
All right, that's interesting. Here's a question. Can it do a full screen type mode? Because generally how I like to play these types of games, I I'd like to just pop in and check on them, but not actually see them while they're running. Right? So like I played a phone game or two.
No, I can't do full screen, but what I wouldn't be surprised with is if in a full implementation, as you purchase more land, like that might be, you might be able to see it in a way where it could take up more screen real estate. The fact that you can minimize it, so you can kind of play it the way you're intending, but there's no reason for it to go full screen at this stage, because literally the gameplay space is that bottom bar. There's nothing more.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And in the end, it probably wouldn't. Yeah, as long as you can minimize it, I could run with that. Okay. Does it have any sort of music? Because like running over what you've got, right? Like, or is it just completely visual?
I don't recall, and I'm one of those people that, like, as soon as I start a game, I turn sounds off. But generally, I don't really care that much about video game music, so it maybe has music, it maybe doesn't. I have no idea.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
Yeah, like I don't have a huge amount else to say. Like the game is like watch a trailer, and that's what the demo is.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think we have a date yet on when it's coming out, but like I think everything about this game is kind of what I want it to be. So yeah, very excited for Rusty's retirement to come out in full.
All right. Well, at least it definitely looks like it's delivering on what was promised. So I definitely respect that. Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, just excited to see as this game develops.
All right then. In that case, I'll wrap this up with the last demo I played, Mika and the Witch's Mountain, which listeners may know that I am extremely excited for. So excited. Okay. For people who may not remember, this is by Chibig, and this is Kiki's Delivery Service meets Wind Waker, very openly and explicitly. They wear their influences on their sleeve. So on the opposite end of the spectrum from the Southfield demo, the worst part about this demo is that it's very, very short. Like 15 minutes. if you like, I'm pretty sure I cleared it in 15 minutes because I didn't realize it was going to end. It is very much just one quote unquote mission where one delivery quest or what have you. So, and they block off a lot of the island or whatever, like they're just invisible walls you can't pass. That is without a doubt my biggest gripe. And that's just more because I want to play more of it, right? The actual game itself, I think, it's great. The visual style, very Wind Waker. It looks just as great as Wind Waker. Very pretty, very colorful. The gameplay. So you're playing as a little witch, Mika, and she's training to become a witch, and she's earning money to make her way. So the premise is you meet your mentor witch who just kicks you just straight up off the top of of a mountain on this island, and you have to make your way back up. And so she has to get some money to buy a better broom and things like that. And so she picks up this delivery service assistant job, and it feels great because the primary mechanic is you're flying on witch's broom, right? and the flying feels great as you can go up, you can go down, increase the speed. It feels like how I would hope that sort of flying would play. The actual delivery aspects of it isn't terribly hard, at least not in this demo. You like physically pick up an item. It's not just in your inventory. You have to hold it and you take it to the recipient, right? And you get graded on the delivery, right? Like, did you drop it or damage it in any way? You do lose some quote unquote points for that. You get graded on each job. Being so short, right? Like, I just got the faintest taste of how it played. I enjoyed what was there, but hopefully they'll do some fun stuff. Like the very last bit you do, you have to deliver a fish from the ocean, and you do that by picking up a goldfish bowl and flying over the ocean and kind of just straight up scooping up the fish out of the water. Which I thought was a little different than your standard fishing and whatnot, right? I liked it. So hopefully they have some clever ideas to do different things with the flying mechanics. I'm just really excited for it. The demo, I don't think I wouldn't say disappointed me. It's really short, right? So it could go either way. Maybe the full release will be a little more disappointing, or maybe it'll be exactly like this. But at the very least, right now with this demo, I'm still just as excited for Mika and the Witch's Mountain.
That's awesome. I'm super excited to hear that, because I feel like for both of us, right, the risk with this game was that it looks amazing, it looks like something we really want to play, and then, is it actually fun? And it sounds like it is. So I'm very excited, and everything that you said just sounds great. Like, I love again, little things, right? Like, but what you said about fishing to me sounds like a game that's been designed with a really clear intention, which is so good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things about that. Like, one, that very clearly the focus is on the flying and they're executing it well, right? I don't have any complaints so that it felt in the demo. And two, it's different, right, from cottage core stuff, right? It's very fast in pace. So that's probably why I cleared it so fast, because the bro moves at a pretty good pace for that sort of flying, and it's the right in a sort of like fully directional movement. Like, it's very different from even just your standard survival or cottagecore or anything else. So I just really hopeful that the rest of it is just as charming and fun. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, do we have an updated date on when they're planning to release?
That's a good question. Let me see. And also I'm happy to find out that there was a demo, because I thought they released one, but just for a brief period. But now it's just available. Right now they're just saying it's 2024. What was there felt like a game, so I could see it launching in 2024. Yeah. So I'm definitely keeping my eye out for when this one drops. Looks so good. I'm just looking at the trailer again, flying through rings and stuff like that. Oh, I can't wait. That's so pretty too. I love Wind Waker's my favorite game, so I just they have the froggy chair. All right, that's all I got for Mika's, and I guess that's kind of it for the demos we played. That was fun. Different, a pretty healthy mix of games there. A lot to look forward to. Some more than others.
Yeah, and it's fun to see sort of like demos making a bit of resurgence again this year. I feel like I preferred demos to open betas. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the nostalgia, but
yeah, I know. My feelings on early access and whatnot are well known. I just like a complete package, even if it's a pre-release demo complete package. I'm fine. I'm down with that. But yeah, good stuff. And so with that, let's wrap this up. Jonnie, where would people like to not find you on the internet?
they can do that by not finding me. Where can people find you, Kev? Where should they go if they want to give you some feedback or thoughts?
Find me at Koopa Prez on the Twitter if you want to see my personal account. Find me at Sprider Squared if you want to see my art account, both of which are loosely tied to Rainbow Road Radio, the aforementioned Mario podcast that I host. You can find that on Twitter at Mario Rainbow Pod or at Rainbow Road Radio on almost every other platform. Like I said, we did Mario versus Donkey Kong. We just did that episode, and that'll be releasing. Well, that'll be out by the time this episode drops. And I did some Mario art on my art account, so you can go look at that in celebration of the game. But other than that, you can also find both of us on other episodes of this show. If you search on Tumblr or Twitter for @THSPod to see Al posting updates, new episodes, etc. You can go to the website directly, harvestseason.club, to see all the show notes from all the stuff we talked about today and every other episode. Feel free to leave feedback there or at any of these other places. Go bother Al, ask him, tell him your thoughts on America and what he should do while he's here. Or you can also find us at Patreon on patreon.com/thspod, where you can find exclusive content, including the Greenhouse show on things not cottagecore. And with that, thank you again, Jonnie, for joining me. Thank you, Al, for having us on. And until next time, dear listeners,
have a good
harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Mika the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Oh my god, that was so like after last week's episode, I've been talking with Al about my microphone and stuff because there's something weird going on in the background, like just a little thing, and I've got a new laptop, right? So I was just kind of getting everything reset up, and so I did some testing this week, and I was like, no, I should be using this setting, like this is what sounds the best, and had everything set up, and then I was like, cool, it should be all good, and then to die halfway through, I was just like, well, clearly Al was picking up that was not working, because I was like, maybe I should try a new cable or something like that, and I did the test, and I was like, no, it all sounds fine, and then just to have that happen, I was like, I've never wanted to quit an episode partway through, but having to talk about Rusty's retirement for the fourth time, I was just like, I hate technical difficulties so much.
But the listeners will never know unless Al puts it all in.